Psalms chapter 135, verses 13. And it says, Thy name, O Lord, endureth forever, and thy what? Memorial, O Lord, throughout all generations. Title this morning is, What is your memorial to God? All of us should have a memorial to God, like the psalmist did here, has a memorial forever to God. And as we're going to study this morning, and we're going to read a few things, what is your memorial to God? We should have a memorial that tells God that we love Him. We also should have a memorial that tells other people that we love God and that we love Jesus Christ. Now, memorials in our world today, you will notice, and when I went searching on the internet for memorials to God, there was none. There was none. And the only one that was talked about were the memorials talked about in the Bible. But in the world today, all the memorials are for people, to recognize people for what they have done, or for something that's happened that's a terrible thing. You see the memorial for the president up there. It's huge. Have you seen it before? Has anybody seen that? I'm late, I've not seen it, and so I'm not impressed with that, but anyway. And then there's also an Indian memorial honoring the Indian people. But in all of that, where is the memorial for God? Here, the first memorial that we know of in the United States was for the War of 1812. And so that's that memorial. Then we also see the Alamo, and many of us remember that. There was 189 people killed in that war. It's just a few. But they built a memorial for that, okay? Then there's the Gettysburg Memorial. 51,000 people died there in 1863. Then there's the Galveston Memorial, where 8,000 people died in the hurricane there. Then there's the Martin Luther King Memorial, and where he alone was assassinated. But in all of these memorials, there's nothing said about God in their life. There's nothing said about that in bold, or that says that it's bringing honor to Him. Then we also see the National Fallen Firefighters Memorial, where 3,147 have been killed between 1981 and 2008. So there's more now than that. And then the Oklahoma City National Memorial, where 168 people was killed in 1995. And then also the September the 11th Memorial, we remember that, as 2,971 people was killed in that alone. So I stop and think of all these memorials. These are just a few. There are millions of memorials, and sometimes I'm driving by and on a highway or on a street in Wichita or going out to Derby or Mulvane, and we see on the roadside where they have a little white cross with flowers on it, where someone has decorated that as a memorial for someone who has died there near the train tracks, or here in an accident, near an overpass or something like that. And so we see that, and they're honoring that. But I ask myself, as I'm seeing all this, where is the memorial for God? We're too busy memorializing people and not memorializing God, because God is now becoming removed from our country. You don't see God anymore in our country. You just don't see Him. What's the cost of a memorial? What's the cost of a memorial? Have you seen? I was shocked to find out what it cost for some of these memorials. So I'm going to show them to you. $5 million they had received from the government. That's not all. That's not all. $5 million. Add to that another $5 million of matching funds from the state of Oklahoma, spent on a memorial for people that had been killed. $17 million was added to that was raised through private donations. Now you stop and think, that's a lot of money to be spending on people who have died. And I wonder to myself, how many people have donated money to the local church to further the gospel of Jesus Christ? Is it that amount? I don't think so. You understand my point? How weak we are? And we say, well, why let God? Really? Is really in God we trust true? Or is it false? You can't see it in our expenditures. The National Mall in Washington, D.C. includes memorials with price tags as low as $3 million. But $182 million was spent on the World War II memorial. Okay? So you see all this money just being, for what? Okay? What does it cost also to take care of those memorials? To make sure there's water there, to make sure the grass is cut? A lot of money. $1 billion on the World Trade Center costs. A lot of money. Do you realize how much that would help the local church in furthering the gospel? We could print a lot of Bibles in different languages to go all over the world. We could pay men to preach the gospel. But you know what? There's many churches now that are starving for pastors because men fail to see the need to reach the hearts of the American people. It's easy for a person to become a missionary. And I say easy, not so much anymore. But it's more easy to become a missionary because people want to support missions they see on the TV. Oh, the poor people, they're dying, the children, oh, cry. And they feel sorry for them, and so they send money to them during the time their church is struggling financially. Memorials to people in our world. What about memorials to ourselves? Huh? How many of you have read this poem? I think it's in here. I printed it in our bulletin. It's on the inside, right here. And it's called The Dash. This is the first time I've never read this before. How many of you have read it before? Have you read it before? First time for me, and I'm like, wow, it's truly a wonderful poem. I read of a man who stood to speak at a funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of the birth, And he spoke of the following date with tears. But he said that mattered most of all was the dash. Born, dash, death. But he knows most important was the dash. He said, for that dash represents all the time they spent alive on earth. And now only those who love them know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash, but what matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you would like to change? For you never know how much time is left that still can be rearranged. To be less quick to anger and to show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things that they say about how you lived your dash? I got to look at that and I'm like, wow, that's really deep. Dash. That represents the years from here when you was born until you died. What have you done with that? What have you done with your years? And I'm like, you know what? I'm really not impressed with my dash. I need to change my dash. And I need to run like a flash. Okay? But no, you stop thinking about it. And I thought to myself, I wish I could remember the exact date I was born the second time. Because to me, that's more important than born the first time. And then I could write, right here, I was born and I was 12 years old when I received Jesus Christ. And I can remember that. I can remember everything that happened. I remember how I felt. I remember all of that. I just can't remember the date. But if I could write that down, what could I put in from that second birth dash to now when I die? What's in between there? Before, God doesn't care because it's all cleaned. It's cleaned off. Now you've seen our memorials. You've seen all of that. How much was spent? What about Israel's memorials? I want us to look at that right quick like. Notice to whom the memorials are for. Now you see here, memorials in America are for war soldiers, or for people who had died in a bombing, or a school at like Virginia Tech, or they were killed in a movie house by some crazy kid, or they were also the firefighters, and all these people have died to honor the people. Israel, different. You notice? And Aaron shall bear the names of the children of Israel in the breastplate, which was here, and he had the 12 stones on it, upon his heart. And when he goeth into the holy place, for a memorial before the Lord. It was not for the people, the children of Israel, it was for him, because he commanded it. He says, all right, when you go into the Holy of Holies, the priests are supposed to have on this ephod, and it has the 12 stones on it that represent the children of Israel. And so you do that. Why do you do that? Because he represents Jesus Christ, the priest does. Jesus Christ became our high priest, right? Because he goes between us and God. Now then, he says in Leviticus in chapter 24 verse 7, and thou shalt be pure, shalt put pure frankincense upon each row, that it may be on the bread for a what? Memorial. So in their food was a memorial for the Lord. In here in Numbers chapter 31, verses 54, and Moses and Eleazar, the priest, took the gold of the captains of thousands and hundreds, and brought to the tabernacle of the congregation for a memorial of the children of Israel, what? Before the Lord. Okay? All the children before the Lord. Then in Joshua 4, verses 7, he says, then shall answer them that the waters of Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. When it was passed over Jordan, the waters of Jordan were cut off, and these stones shall be for a memorial unto the children of Israel forever. But it started with, it's a covenant of the Lord. Now, it's for the children of the Lord to honor that. So, God commanded. Now, what had happened was, God had commanded Joshua and told him, he said, you take 12 men, one from each tribe of Israel, and you take a stone, and I want you to put it on the riverbed. Okay, that's what he told him. Just like that. And so you see on your paper, on your bulletin, that picture. That's what it is about. And that place represented where the Ark of the Covenant used to be, was here. And I want you to take it and put it on that exact place. It's not just some random act of God. It was something specific, because the Ark of God, the Ark of the Covenant, is special. God cherishes that. But it has represented God's faithfulness to his children. Godly memorials. And you notice how much money was spent on these memorials in America alone. Unbelievable. I just can't believe it. But you know what? Those memorials will not last forever. So they kind of waste their money, okay? Because they're not going to last forever. Well, how do I know that? Well, first of all, we have to realize that people who are not saved are not Christian. And Christians are supposed to be separated from the world. So we do not honor people like the world honors people. God does not honor people like the world honors people. Why? Because, like God says, they are our enemies. Now, what he means by that is, that, oh, I'm not enemy of God, I'm not enemy of people in church. No. What it means is that the people in the world do not believe in God. They're trying to remove God from everything in the United States now. No more 10 Commandments, no more expressing God in our country. You can't do that. You can't say the name of Jesus Christ in front of someone else, or you may become sued. So our world has become corrupt. They're our enemies. And I remember as a child singing that song, "This world is not my home, I'm just a passing through." That's true. This is not my home. My home is there. And for every Christian, it is in heaven. It's not here. And I'm thankful for that, because this place is a terrible place. And it's the worst place that we will ever know here. For the unsaved person, this world is the best that they will know. And the world represents the people who have decided not to follow God. In Psalms chapter 9 verses 6, he says, "O thou enemy," who's he talking about? Worldly people. Okay? Destructions are coming to a perpetual end, and thou hast destroyed cities. Their memorial is perished with them. All the memorials that they have, oh, look what happened here, they're going to be done. They're going to be destroyed. Why? All memorials have made to honor men will perish. Why? Because we are supposed to be honoring Him with what we do, not ourselves. Memorials to God, anything we do for God will forever be enshrined or lifted up as a memorial to God that lasts forever. Psalms chapter 135 verses 13, you read just a while ago in our opening. It says, "Thy name, O Lord," and you notice capital L, capital O, capital R, capital D, means God. "Thy name, O Lord, endureth forever, and thy memorial." His memorial will last forever, because God lasts forever, right? Okay. What have we done in the dash of our life? You see that right there? What have you done with that? That dash between. What have you done for Him? Stop and think about it, and I think myself, you know, there's many years I wasted in my life doing what Ron wanted to do. And I didn't do what he wanted me to do. Let's close with this. Go to Acts chapter 10. Verses 21. Acts chapter 10 and verses 21. And it says, "And then Peter went down to the men which were sent unto him from Cornelius, and said, Behold, I am he whom ye seek. What is the cause wherefore you are come? Why are you coming to me?" And in verses 22, I want us to see something. Sorry, I read the wrong one. Verse 1. Okay. Verses 1. There was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of a band called the Italian Band. Now, it says it was a certain man. He was a high-ranking officer in the army. High. And you know they're very smart. You can't be stupid and be a high officer in the army. You can't be that. You have to be pretty smart. You have to know what you're doing. And this man was also a reformed Gentile from Judaism. Okay? He changed from worshiping like Judeans, and he became to worship with God. In other words, idol worship. Now he's being introduced to Jesus Christ. So this is what we know about this man. You notice it says there's 4 things here. He was a devout man, one that feared God with all his house, and also number 3, which gave much alms to the people. And then the 4th thing he did was he prayed to God always. These 4 things. This is what is said about his dash. So those 4 things in this verse represent that man's dash. Understand that? He was a devout, means that he set himself aside. I'm not going to be like the world. I'm not going to join with them when they have their wild parties. I'm not going to join with them when they speak against God. I'm not going to join with them when they get into their activities that are against God's principles. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to set apart myself, separate myself, and become holy like he is holy. That was in his dash. It also said he's one that feared God. Every time something happened, he thought about God. What are you trying to tell me? I know you're trying to tell me something, and I don't want to do the wrong thing, so leave me here. So he feared God in everything that he did, everything that he said, every thought, every action. He feared God and his punishment. What would happen if he didn't do what he told him to do? That he gave much alms to the people. Now, he did not give a lot of money. He did not have a lot of money. Soldiers do not have a lot of money. Now, they probably have more now than before. In fact, a lot of the times, you know what they got for their money? If you read your Bible, the soldiers got paid in salt. Do you have enough salt in your family? Oh, no, we don't have a lot. We'll exchange that for your money, what little bit that we owe to you. But this man's love for God allowed him also to love people. No matter what those people did to him, he still loved them back. This is hard for us to believe, that when we as children of God, we're supposed to be like him, right? And when we are like him, we will be the same way in our action and our response. And when we do that, people will notice like they noticed here. Then he prayed to God always. You know, Lord, I'm in school, I'm getting ready to take a test. I'll ask that you will bless this test, bless my mind, help me to remember the things that I should remember in this test. Lord, also I want to pray for my new chariot. I need a new one, you know that. I pray for that. Lord, I pray for the sick. My brother's sick over here. Just pray for everything, everything. Prayer, continue. Never stop. Never stop. Then we notice that he saw a vision. Evidently about the 9th hour of the day, an angel of God coming into him and saying unto him, and he called him by the name. He's like, hey, he knows my name. And when he looked on him, he was afraid and said, what is it, Lord? And he said unto him, thy prayers and thine alms have come up before the Lord as a memorial. His prayers in alms. If an angel was to come to you today, tomorrow, this week, and tell you, I have a message from the Lord, would it say that? Or would he never come? Because you have done nothing for him. That's what we have to ask ourselves. What am I doing in my dash? What am I doing in my life that represents him in a good way that would cause other people to become saved and to become impressed with my life and to become like me because I am like him? So what is in our dash? I have to stop and think. Well, what have I done? Well, I preach the gospel, I read my Bible, and I pray to him always. What about some of the bad things that we have done in our life in the past? Have we asked him to forgive us of that? And if we have, are we allowing Satan to control us with that? And hanging it over our heads and say, hey, 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 you have sinned before, remember? And it ruins our joy. Jesus Christ says, I want to give to you back your joy. I have removed your sin. When you ask forgiveness of that sin, I remove it. I don't just cover it up, I remove it. And now you can live from now on to eternity knowing that I have taken care of your sin. Now you can live in your dash for him. Okay? What do you think? What is it that we do in our dash that will come up for a memorial before God? Let's all stand.